Anyway, before we blow this whole thing, I don't know how much time we have. I have some comic reels. I'd love to play one of those because they're really hysterically funny. But before I do, I want to just take a few questions from you guys. Anybody have a question for me? Something you'd like to ask about anything? Yes, Gert.
Yeah, go to the mic.
Oh, is there a mic,
go to the
right,
mic
there?
right there?
Okay, good.
Hi.
By the way, I'm really proud of you, just sitting there being quiet. Honestly, I just feel so close to him.
Listen, I have the best view sitting back here, so.
By the way, this is my alter ego. You have no idea how fat I was a couple years ago. You know, the hard thing about watching yourself on television, I swear I kept thinking, how in the world did I go from where I was to being that fat by the end of the show? You know, and I realized I was going through a lot of stuff, and I don't know about you. You know how we all have our favorite little self-medicating thing? Anybody like what? Donuts. Some people like M&Ms, right? You know, I love... Oh, yes, me too. but I would self-medicate with chai lattes. And unlike most people that might have a chai latte in the morning instead of a coffee, I would have them every 2 hours. Because, no, seriously, I felt so good for about an hour and a half, and then I'd start to come down, I'd have to have another chai latte, and I gained like 25, 30 pounds. And believe it or not, everything magnifies on the screen. So I had to watch myself, you know, get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So anyway, I just want to say that I kind of look at you, and I'm very compassionate and understanding.
I'm your inspiration. Thank you, Richard.
And you're disciplined to sit there and be quiet and not say anything. I was terrified of letting him walk out and introduce me. I thought, I'm never going to get out on that stage. I know it. Anyway, so where was I? Oh, yes, question.
So I'm a big Battlestar fan. Kind of got me into liking all the space kind of shows and stuff. My question is, what did you find like the biggest difference between working with the original series and the newer series?
The original series, first of all, back in that day, that was the biggest budget ever in television history, believe it or not. And they had never done a theatrical style series for television ever. So they didn't really know what they were doing. And it was supposed to be a 7-hour miniseries, not a TV series. And halfway through the first opening 3-hour sequence that we did, they decided to pick it up as a series. And so we didn't have story arcs. We didn't have the scripts. So they were in a hurry trying to catch up. And we ended up filming. I mean, usually a series takes 7 days to film. Ours was taking 10 to 12 days. And that was 4 or 5 extra days of what we call overtime, golden time, double golden time. People got rich on the Battlestar set with all that overtime that it took to shoot the series, which is one of the main reasons why they took the show off. They couldn't put it together fast enough, and we couldn't even get the shows done on time. They were having so many challenging difficulties. We ended up filming 7 days a week, like 16 to 18 hours a day. We were living on the back lot of Universal. I had a lot of hot sake and air popcorn, getting through some very cold nights, looking at what remained of the shark from Jaws right outside my window. It was really just getting through it was an endurance thing. And you really didn't have a lot of time. Scripts would come in at the last second. It was always emergencies, trying to fix things, you know. It was one of those really kind of amazing experiences that you will never forget. And we all bonded together because we spent so much time together. The new show, what was so great about it was really one of the most extraordinarily, I don't think there's another show that was filmed like this one with 5 handheld cameras where you had so much time to play and dance and interact with the actors. You could never show up on the set with a really dedicated idea of how you wanted to play the scene. You had to really connect to where you were as the character, what had happened to you, where you came from, but you had to step into that scene and let it all go and be in the moment because you never knew what was going to come at you. And the writers and the directors all worked together in a very collaborative way, and we were always trying different things, playing with the scenes. We had so much time to rehearse it, to play with it, to try different things with it. I think it's why some of the best work ever done, I think, on television. And you know, Time Magazine called Battlestar the #1 best drama on TV, period. Not just sci-fi,
Well-deserved.
but best drama on TV, period. Although I must say, I thought the final year, my disappointment was Sci-Fi Channel would not give Ron Moore a 2-year pickup. In fact, they almost canceled it the year before. And the problem with Sci-Fi Channel, I don't know about you, but they bite you 2 ways. They charge you an extra premium cost for Sci-Fi Channel, and then they would give you 20 minutes of commercials, right? So you never wanted to watch it when it played. You would TiVo it, you would download it, you'd wait it till the season was over and buy the DVD, which meant that it wasn't registering on the Nielsen's. So for them, they were seeing less people watching it when it was playing, which is all they cared about. But the bottom line was more people were actually watching it. They just weren't watching it the old way. So they were going to take it off the year before. Can you believe that? And this show that got them such acclaim, and because Ron Moore couldn't get a pickup, he decided he didn't want to get canceled the next year without being able to resolve the storylines, right? So he decided to take 1 year and finish it. And the sad part is, for me, there was so much story to tell that he had to squeeze it into 1 year, so things got hurried, got forced. Plus, you had a lot of actors having to go on to new shows, so you would have actors flying in and out, and they would be filming 3 separate shows at the same time. So it was a really chaotic last year. And I'm just sad because Battlestar is too good of a story and too wonderfully written. I think it really needed that 2 years in order to take those storylines and character threads and to resolve all of them. But at least he got to finish it. And again, like I said, I'm hoping. I think Battlestar still has so much story to tell. And I don't know about you, but I got to see Battlestar, the movie, the original movie, even though the matte paintings were a little jaggy. But I saw it on the IMAX, and it blew me away. And I thought Battlestar deserves to be on the IMAX in the movies. What do you think?
Yeah.
By the way, one of the reasons I'm going to do a web series to launch this new Magellan, it's called Guam. I've worked on it for 10 years since I was pitching Battlestar and couldn't get it done. I wanted to create something that had deep meaning and explored the mysteries of the universe. And Guam I've been developing for 10 years, and I want to do a web series to launch the novel and the graphic novels that will be coming out. But you know what my thought was? I thought, with Kickstarter campaigns and all the ways that they're now raising money to do things, where fans can get involved with $5, $10, the thought was, look what Felicia Day did with the Guild. She went out there and created something that had never been done before, and by the 4th year, she had 2 to 4 million people watching it. And my thought was, not even worrying about trying to pitch it to a network, why not create a series, be able to reach the audience, and then, I don't know about you, but wouldn't it be nice if you, the audience, decided what stays on and what goes off instead of some executive in a boardroom? Do you realize how often decisions are made by someone who does not have a clue about what is good and what is not good? And that means that you guys, if you like it, you support it. If you don't like it, you don't, and it goes off. But you don't need the world. See, a network studio, they had 5 million dedicated fans watching Firefly on Fox. That wasn't enough for Fox to actually deal with their bottom line. But 5 million fans who would more than be willing, and tell me if I'm out of the box here, would you not pay $10 a month to watch Firefly episodes? Would you not? I mean, we dropped $10 in 5 seconds. When you come here, it's probably out of your pocket before you even open the door, right? But you know what $10 times 5 million fans is? That's $50 million a month. On that business model, they could make endless Firefly episodes. And you could do the same business model for Battlestar, for Babylon 5, Farscape, whatever show you love. That's a whole new business model that the networks don't want to know about. So my thought was, if you actually create something that the audience likes, you don't have to turn it over to the network or studio and sell it to them. Why? Because if you give it to them, they can cancel it. And they always end up canceling the best shows because they do not understand or get science fiction. So again, my thought is, who knows if it'll work or not work, but I want to create something where the audience finds it, the audience determines the success of it, and I take it out of the hands of the networks and the studios. That's where I want to go.
And like a network executive, I have to say that our time is coming to a close, unfortunately.
Can
'Cause
somebody take him off the stage really quick? Just muffle this little voice.
I'm sorry, we have to wrap it up. I'm terribly sorry. So, Richard,
Do we have 5 more minutes?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
we got
good.
5 minutes.
All right.
5 minutes,
Thank you.
please.
Did I answer your question? I did. Okay. I have a tendency to wander, you know what I'm saying? So I apologize. Okay.
How you doing? I got 2 questions. So the first one, Apollo or Zarek, which one was your favorite character to play?
Well, you know what I always tell people? They always say, Jesus, how did you go from Apollo to Tom Zarek? And I go, easy, 25 years of prison abuse. I said, but what I actually mean is that, you know, when you realize I have been through hell and back, and I don't mean that lightly, but I have been through hell and back in my life. And honestly, I was able to honestly relate to Tom Zarek in a really profound way. And I know everybody makes judgments, but I always tell people, I said, you know, in truth, Battlestar was mirroring the world in many, many different ways. And if you really watch it more than once and really look at it in a deeper way, you start to realize that, you know, obviously all these characters, there's just such deep, profound, multi-layered characters. But for, you know, Tom Zarek, you rarely got to see his private thinking or his private motivations. So you assumed, because of Edward Olmos, Mary McDonnell, you know, Adama, that he must be a bad guy and have bad reasoning, right? But the truth is that Zarek, for me, was the wounded idealist who went to prison for 25 years fighting for human rights. And then he gets on Battlestar, and guess what? What happens on Battlestar post 9/11, after apocalyptic circumstance? Government, again, thinks they know what's right for everybody. And we want to suspend democracy because we know what you should be doing. So we're going to save you from yourselves by making decisions for you. And if you don't agree with us, we put you in jail. So guess what? The so-called good guys were doing a lot of bad things and accusing me of being the bad guy who was trying to make them accountable. And so I was always being aspected, my character is the bad guy. And yet, Ron Moore told all the writers, believe it or not, to always put the truth in Tom Zarek's mouth. Of course, people always assumed he must be manipulating, lying, you know, playing for self-serving reasons. Why? Because Adama and Rosalind had an agenda. And yet, I remember in the final scene when they're coming to pull me off the bridge, you know what Apollo said? He goes, you know something? If you get past the arrogance, Tom Zarek is right. And I remember that statement that he made. Actually, Apollo actually got who Tom Zarek was. My only sad thing was, at the end, Gaeta got his final little scene with Baltar. And I just would have loved to have had a final moment with Apollo, where you could have gotten an insight into who Tom Zarek was and why he was doing what he did. But yes, he was angry, he was a wounded idealist, and he had every reason not to believe in government because he had seen so often how government in a post 9/11 circumstance can drift left or right and become more dictatorial. Anyway, that was a long answer again.
And I'll pass on the second one just
Okay.
to
Yeah,
just everyone else. So.
I'm sorry. I mean, I would love nothing more.
How sorry are you?
You know, I'm so sorry. We have to wrap it up, folks. I'm terribly sorry. But before, my one indulgence of this panel, you have to wear the cape.
Oh my God.
I am sorry. I have waited 5 years to have this man wear this cape. I cannot tell you. But seriously, folks, was I lying when I said what an amazing speaker this man is? I said I met him in St. John's, and by the end of the weekend that I spent with him, platonically, at the end of that weekend, I was totally, I will move to Los Angeles with you, Richard. Whatever you want me to do. But Halifax, put your hands together for one of the greatest men I know, Richard Hatch.
Hal-Con.